down. But nonetheless, an excellent effort from Alan Moffat, who takes this car next week to Macau for the Gear 200, the support race to the Macau Grand Prix, a race that Alan Moffat won in 1974 in a Ford Capri. So the first international challenge for the Mazda RX-7 will be in Southeast Asia in just 2 weeks' time. Another disappointing day for Alan Grice in the BMW 635 at this his Jinx Circuit Surface Paradise. In the Australian Touring Car Championship earlier this year, he managed to get this car the whole length of the main straight before it was involved in a first corner melee. Last year, he rolled his car under the Dunlop Bridge. So Alan Grice not happy at Surface Paradise, and certainly today as well, having first spun the car under the Dunlop Bridge in an incident with Alan Brown in the opening laps, and then taking an unscheduled pit stop again, which lasted at least 2 minutes. That pit stop again, like Alan Moffat's, wasn't supposed to have occurred. Alan Grice thought he was going to get through the race without a pit stop, without needing fuel or without needing tyres. But again, the best laid plans just haven't worked, and Alan Grice looking at further development of the BMW 635 before it may come into contention in the outright class.
This is a sensation in the pits. Dick Johnson, the race leader, into the pits. There are 81 laps gone in the 75-lap race, 81 laps gone in the 95-lap race, and 14 laps to go. Johnson has pitted, and they are changing the tyres. Peter Brock was catching Johnson at the rate of 2 seconds a lap. Johnson going down to 2 seconds a lap. Peter Brock, so Brock is now caught Johnson is out with 14 laps to go, and Peter Brock, the new race leader.
26 seconds that pit stop for Dick Johnson, but we get news up here that Peter Brock has a drama. We saw him push start in the pits, and we understand that the stewards are contemplating putting a minute penalty on Peter Brock, which will put him behind again, even though he's in the lead on the road. Peter Brock facing the minute penalty. I would think at this stage that John Harvey and the rest of the Holden dealer team would be starting to negotiate that with the race stewards. But Peter Brock in the lead on the road at this particular stage after Dick Johnson took that unscheduled stop for a left rear tyre. And I think Peter Brock will worry about the politics and the push starting later, because at the moment all he wants to do is stay ahead of Dick Johnson. There's Johnson. Half a lap behind. Johnson can't get through there. He's being balked badly, and Johnson getting very desperate to get through. And that's what happens when you get in the way of the man who wants to lead the race. That's John White in the Gemini, who got in the way of Dick Johnson and paid the penalty. Meantime, as Dick Johnson comes onto the straight, John Harvey walks up the pit straight, heading towards the officials' booth under the control tower. So John Harvey to discover just what that 1 minute penalty is all about.
Well, with me at the moment, Roy McDonald, the pit manager with Dick Johnson. Roy, can you tell us what went wrong with the tyres?
Well, we have picked up a stone around the track that's gone right through the tyre. We've got a puncture that was slowly deflating. There's 15 laps to go, and it wouldn't have made it to the end, so we had to come in and then change it.
Yes, Brock was catching Dick Johnson at a rate of about 2 seconds a lap. So
I think it was around about 1 second a lap. Yes.
So really, that's virtually cost you the race, hasn't it?
I'll say it has, yeah.
18 seconds in front now. You don't think you can bring that back?
No, I doubt that very much. We'll have to settle for second place.
Oh, well, bad luck. We'll wait next year.
Thanks, Mike. Okay.
Well, it may not have to wait until next year, because that 1 minute penalty is still to be resolved. So Dick Johnson soaring on, and he should be told that that 1 minute penalty could be applied, because it could alter the way in which he will drive this race. At the moment, he might be settling back, accepting second place. On the other hand, he might be trying desperately to catch Peter Brock. And from the look of those flashing lights, there's only one thing Dick Johnson wants to do at this stage, and that's go for broke. Peter Brock in the lead, letting John Harvey worry about the 1 minute penalty in the pits. He'll be told how far behind Dick Johnson is. and will be told whether Dick Johnson is catching or not. That's all that should worry the race driver at a time like this. The leader of the 1600cc class is the little Toyota Corolla Levin, being driven by the only lady in the event, Alexandra Surplus. She's sharing the drive with Doug Clark, who used to be Graham Bailey's co-driver in the Toyota Celica. This is a classic case of Peter Williamson and the Toyota dealer team loading the bases, because the car that was most likely to be in contention for the Australian Endurance Championship was the Craig Bradke Mitsubishi Lancer, which was only 3 points behind Williamson in the overall placings for the Australian Endurance Championship. Now, to stop Bradke winning his class, the 1600cc class, and therefore scoring maximum points and worrying the Toyota Celicas, this Toyota Corolla was brought up here to Surfers Paradise, and it's doing its job admirably because it is leading the class at this particular stage, thus blocking the Mitsubishi Lancer from the Australian Endurance Championships. Alexandra Surplus, a 25-year-old Sydney driver, doing an excellent job in the car. Doug Clark, a 38-year-old, thereabouts, driver from Gosford in New South Wales, a seasoned professional, and if it's him in the car at the moment, it's a credit to him because the car is going excellently on the road. And the confirmation comes out to Peter Brock. Yes, he does have a 1-minute penalty. He is 42 seconds ahead of Dick Johnson. There are 10 laps remaining in this event. To overcome his 1-minute penalty, Peter Brock has to open up 18 seconds on Dick Johnson in just 10 laps. He opened up 2 seconds on the last lap, so it is possible. Dick Johnson, however, may not have been told about the 1-minute penalty. He may be simply cruising to accept a certain second place. If Johnson gets the word, he should be able to hold Brock out, but it'll be close.
This race is far from over yet, because we've just learned from the Holden dealer team pit crew that Peter Brock, in fact, will be penalised 1 minute for a push start in the pits. Now, it's something that I am not exactly sure on. John Harvey, what are the details?
The rule book says the starter motor must be used to start the car at all times, but in the last few years in all long-distance races, they waive that rule during pit stops. As long as the car starts at the beginning of the race, either on the warm-up lap or prior to the start of the race, no problem. However, they don't apply that here, and they've now imposed a penalty on us. But however, we're 70.5 seconds ahead, so in fact we're 10.5 seconds ahead of Dick with the
It's going to make it a very close finish. Are you going to challenge that ruling at all? Are you going to challenge that ruling at all, or are you going to let it stay?
Well, it'll depend how it finishes up. If we win the race by 65 seconds, I think we'd worry about it. If we lose the race by a second, I think we'd have nothing to say, sure.
There's Dick Johnson. Now, what sort of message has he got from his pit crew? Has he been told about the situation that's occurred for Peter Brock? One must assume that he has. We've got a clock on him at the moment to see just what the distance is behind. Johnson would want to win in front of his home crowd anyway, so I doubt very much he'll be backing off too much. Flings the car onto the main straight. Plants the foot. Takes fourth gear about there, working up to about 210 kilometres an hour. And the split is 41 seconds, so Peter Brock certainly isn't opening the gap that he should be. But look at the smoke coming off the left-hand rear tyre of Dick Johnson. Now there's the story. He's got smoke coming off that rear tyre every time he flings any sort of weight onto that tyre. There he goes. Oh, Dick Johnson gone. That car started to lock up as it came under the Dunlop Bridge. You could see something going wrong with the left-hand rear tyre as the officials race down to Dick Johnson now. And you could see it there as he went under the braking area, into the braking area.